Hey there everyone, Art Burns here, wishing you well today. So yesterday I talked about, just kind of stopping from time to time during the day, especially when we're feeling overwhelmed by our mental, emotional activity, and just stopping and taking stock in what is happening right now. Not what we think should happen or might happen or should have happened or could have happened, but what is happening around us, right? And when we do this, what we do is we gain sort of a perspective from a position of stillness, right? Where we can now look at that which is the reality of what's happening, right? So often our minds are working in the opposite direction, right? Our minds are so, in this sort of frenzied flow of thoughts and emotions and concerns and worries and plans and of course a lot of, planning and everything is all necessary, but we get so wrapped up in it sometimes that we feel like we're just, along for the ride, right? And so when we stop and we just allow ourselves to kind of step back and look at what is actually happening, that's something that allows us to kind of gain this, again, this perspective from a point of stillness so that we can kind of detach ourselves from that flow, even for a few minutes, or a few moments rather, and this can help us to, to kind of, focus our mind and take a couple of deep breaths, release some of that stress, release some of that anxiety, release some of the depression, and really get into, feeling the presence, right? Now, of course, like with a lot of other mindfulness practices and formal meditation, like this can be a practice in and of itself, right? But practicing meditation helps us to cultivate this aspect or this sort of tendency of our mind and our attention and our ability to just be still for a moment and see with again, with a gentle, non-judging awareness and a great clarity to see what is actually happening around us, instead of listening to all those thoughts and emotions, really just sitting here and seeing it, right? And so, when we sit in meditation, right, this is what we're doing, right? When we sit in a formal meditation, we're allowing ourselves to really be present and focus on our breath and in this moment of focus, or this 20 minutes of focus, or even 5 minutes of focus, what we're doing is we're practicing that ability to sit still and to, let the thoughts and the emotions and everything kind of just go by us, right? Without our necessarily paying attention to it, right? And in this way, we can start to really, gain a sort of a clarity of seeing our experience almost from a third person detachment, right? And what this does is this reduces the level of reactivity that we have, right? Our whole lives, when we're stuck in that mental frenzy, emotional frenzy of planning and doing and just rushing through our lives, right? What we're doing is we're reacting to things quick, all reacting, right? And oftentimes those reactions, while they seem right in the moment, sometimes we look back and we say, gosh, I wish I had done something different in that moment, right? And so what meditation and mindfulness practices allow us to do is to, again, step back a little bit and create a little room in between what's happening around us and how we're going to respond to it, right? Notice I didn't use the word react, I used the word respond, right? That is the key here. When we allow ourselves to be still and take that little beat of a pause or breath or two, we have now a power in that space to now choose how we're going to respond. And in that choice, as Viktor Frankl says, the famous psychologist, has a great quote about this. He says, in between our stimulus and our response, there's a space. And in that space lies our power to choose our response. And in that choice is our growth and our freedom, right? And so that is where we can make choices to respond in ways that benefit us and benefit those around us, right? As opposed to reaction, where we're just, basically taking the highest percentage choice and just going for it, right? And we're doing that very, very quickly without our consciousness. And oftentimes, sure, a lot of times it's right and nothing happens, it's all good, but we're not, but a lot of times it's not. A lot of times we look back, as I said, and say, gosh, I wish I had said something different there, because what I said has caused another problem, right? Which has caused me to now, frenzy in this direction after this problem, you know, and all it does is propel the sort of that momentum of the rush of our you know, thoughts and emotions and you know, and all that mental activity and emotional activity that's going on. The other thing that happens is when we're able to you know, respond rather than react, right? What we're really doing is we're living life on our terms, right? We're actually, you know, living the fullness of each moment of our lives in a way that we normally don't do, right? When we're just stuck in that reactivity and that real quick response, the reactivity and you know, and the frenzy of our mental and emotional activity, right? And so I was actually looked up this old favorite of mine. This guy is amazing. Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche. I might not be saying that correctly, but he is a great mind. He's a monk from I think from Tibet, but he came to the United States and worked with a number of scientists, and he is actually a scientist himself. So he has one of these really great perspectives of bridging the spiritual with the scientific, and it's really really awesome read. But the reason I picked up this book is because I could swear that it was he who said that, you know, that the idea of what I'm talking about, right, is that it's like, you know, kind of think of our experiences as a raging river, right? Like our emotional and mental activity that's just, you know, rushing through life. And if it's not him and it's another author, I sincerely apologize. I was not able to find the quote in the time that I had, and I started reading and getting very distracted because there's a lot of great stuff in this book. But you know, but the idea is that when we can see the raging river, it means that we are already above the raging river, right? And that's kind of the concept that I'm talking about here, right? Like the thoughts and the planning and the mental activity and all that doesn't necessarily change, right? But what changes is our perspective on it and our view of it. And again, just by seeing it happen, right, we're already taking a step back from it, and we're already kind of separating ourselves from it. And now we can see, okay, I can see all that's involved here. And now, again, I can make choices, and I can make choices that are going to really benefit myself and benefit others, right? And this is the key, ultimately, to how mindfulness and meditation are applied to our lives, right? And so there's a great practice. Now, one of the things that I did read in this book as I'm, you know, going through my different notes and underlines trying to find this quote, and again, if it's not him, and again, if I pronounce his name wrong, I apologize. I am not a practicing Buddhist, so I don't, you know, necessarily know a lot of these different terminologies and people's names and stuff like that. But a lot of the work that I do is informed by Buddhism because its root is in Buddhism. So I know enough about it, I guess, to understand it, but not, you know, I'm not like a practicing Buddhist. So anyway, the one thing that was, you know, said in this book that this brilliant author talks about is meditation practice itself, right? Now, yes, it is very beneficial to have, you know, even a few minutes a day, right? That you can sit in meditation and you can, you know, stop doing everything else and just do meditation, okay? There's enormously powerful, enormously important, and enormously helpful in many, many kind of ways, right? And helpful towards the end of what I'm talking about here, right? It gives us that ability to now, you know, pause more easily, more readily, to see more easily, more readily, you know, that which is going on around us without getting sort of wrapped up in it, right? And so one of the things that's curious about what this wonderful monk has to say about meditation is that you know, a lot of people feel like, well, you know, if I can't do 15-20 minutes a day, then what's the point, right? I'm not, you know, it doesn't work for me, right? I got to turn and try to find something different, right? Well, the fact is that yes, it is very, very helpful to be able to sit, even like I sit for 20 minutes a day for sure, every single day, right? But I'm also practicing throughout the day in informal ways, right? I'm doing that all day long, right? And that practice might even be more powerful than the sitting formal meditation is. And so what this gentleman says, a wonderful, wonderful man that wrote this book, you should definitely even look up on YouTube, like his name. I'll give it to you again. I'm going to let you read it because I don't think I'm pronouncing it correctly. There you go. Look him up. He's got some great YouTube videos. He's a great guy. Very funny, very personable, very relatable. But anyway, what he mentions in this, in the chapter about meditation in this book, he says that, like, and it really kind of struck me as odd that he says that, the Buddha, most of the Buddha's followers, when the Buddha was alive, right, walking the earth 2,500 years ago, right, most of his followers were farmers, right? And he, as he explains in this book, the farmers, they don't even have 5 minutes to sit still, right? There's always work to be done. There's always a sheep bleeding, or a baby crying, or something that needs to be done, right? Something is calling out for their attention, right? So most of these people had no time to do that, and the Buddha knew that, right? And so if you want to get into, like, really the traditional level of meditation, is actually not very much formal meditation. It's much more informal meditation, right? Which I found that really interesting, because again, what I work with my clients is very much the informal meditation. Now, there's lots of different ways to do that, right? We can, take various tasks that we do every day, right? We can, brushing our teeth, washing dishes, folding laundry, walking around a store, walking around your office, driving your car, right? There are so many different things that we do every day that we don't have to focus on. And when we're not focusing on them, that's when our mind is wandering off in that frenzied flow that I'm talking about, right? We're just thinking and thinking and thinking, and kind of going into all the problems there, because the way our brains are wired for survival, we're always going to be going towards those things that are fear-inducing, right? And that is always going to cause the stress to rise in our bodies, right? And so it's really helpful to pick any number of these things, and eventually all of these things, right? And to always be paying attention to what it is you're doing. So when you're driving, don't aimlessly wander, your mind off, sure, it's okay to listen to music, but listen to the music, like really be present with the music. Really be present with the fact that, like, I talked to my wife the other day, and she was astounded that she was like, I said something, I have a little meditation for driving that, that's meant to play in the car. And she says the favorite thing that she heard in that meditation was, notice that you are actually moving through space right now. So often we're sitting in the car, we got the windows rolled up, we got the air conditioner on, we got the music going, and we feel like we're just sitting in this little room, right? But that room is traveling at, sometimes 70 miles an hour, right, across the earth. And so kind of bringing awareness to that motion that you're in, like even that is something that is going to really anchor you into that experience, right? As opposed to all these thoughts, right? Like, how many times have you pulled into the parking lot of where you're going and you say to yourself, I don't even remember what roads I took to get here, right? Like, that's because we're not really paying attention to it, right? So there's lots of ways that you can do that with various tasks, right? But we can also just intentionally just pause throughout the day, right? You can set a timer to go off in your phone if you want to, or you can just, just various times during the day, just pause, right? Even for a minute, right? And just pause and just take stock in what is happening around you right now, right? And specifically, and here's a practice I want to give you today that's really pretty cool. And I'm going to give you like a follow-up to this tomorrow. So the first thing you can do is when you're pausing, right? And again, do this like 20 times a day if you can, right? Like even just for a minute. Like Thich Nhat Hanh has a Buddhist retreat center in France called Plum Village, and I'm told that in Plum Village, the clocks everywhere in the entire complex, every single clock chimes every 15 minutes, right? And so every 15 minutes, that is a cue for everyone who's there to simply stop for a moment and just reflect in on themselves, right? And so what you want to do is when you do this, when you pause, right? Now I'm not saying you have to do it every 15 minutes, but and again, Yogi here says to do it 25 times a day, right? I usually tell my clients start out with like 4 or 5 times a day, and see how it builds from there, right? But really be aggressive with it because it's really, really good for you, right? So however many times you want to do that a day, right? Whether you're setting a timer or you're doing it just like, every time you leave your office, every time you answer a phone, every time you send an email, something like that. However it is that you're going to, monitor this thing, just stop and do something really specific. Okay, first of all, just sense your body, right? That's always a great thing to do because your body is always present, right? Like while we're sitting here, right? Like my body is sitting in this chair. It can't be anywhere else. I mean, quantum theory aside, my body cannot be anywhere else except sitting right here in this chair. My mind, however, can be anywhere else in the universe, right? So the idea is to bring that mind back into this chair with my body, right? So sensing into my body will always be a good way to do this. So when your timer goes off or when that cue in your life happens, just stop for a moment and sense into your body, right? Just notice, notice your feet on the floor, notice your butt in the seat, notice notice the clothes hanging on you, anything like this. And also notice any physical sensations you have, right? Notice, do you have a sore back? Is it a little warm? Do you have a little bit of is there a little bit of sweat on your back? Is it, do you have an itch? Do you have are you feeling physically tired? What's going on with your body? 15, 20 seconds of that, right? Then turn to your emotions, right? And just notice, like, okay, how am I feeling right now? Right? And maybe it's very nondescript. Like, I don't know what kind of emotions I have. I don't feel anything negative, but I don't feel anything positive. I just kind of feel like I'm here, and that's fine. Just bringing attention to it is what's happening. But, you might find like, I'm really worried about something, or I'm really, peed off about something, or I'm really, I'm really happy about something. I'm really excited about something. Bring awareness to that. But now here's the part of this practice, and we're going to get into the emotions more deeply tomorrow. But now the thing I want you to do today is I want you to bring awareness to your thoughts in a very specific way. Okay, so sense into your body first, then maybe just check in with your emotions, and now check in with your thoughts in a very specific way. Okay, see if you can tell where your thoughts are. Okay, meaning, are your thoughts in the future somewhere, or are your thoughts in the past at any given time when you're doing this exercise, right? Now, if you can, it's really, really beneficial to jot this stuff down and track it, and look over, and see, like, as the days go by, like, almost always I'm thinking in the future, or almost always I'm thinking in the past. This is going to give you a real insight to your emotional experiences, right? Because the emotions are very much influenced by the thoughts. And so if you're thinking, and this is, I don't want to spoil it for tomorrow, but if you're thinking in the future all the time, then generally speaking, you might be feeling a little bit of anxiety, right? And if you're thinking in the past all the time, then generally speaking, you might be feeling a bit of depression, right? And that's how the mind works, and that's how all this works. So again, I'll go over that in more detail tomorrow, how it works with the emotions. But starting today, take a few times and really just, again, sense your body, take a look at your emotions real quick, right? Don't focus too much on that because we're going to talk more about that tomorrow. But then really check into where your thoughts are, right? Just notice, like, okay, what am I thinking right now? Am I thinking about a bill that's due? Am I thinking about a project that I'm struggling with? Or am I thinking about something that somebody did to me yesterday? Or am I thinking about, what I had for lunch yesterday? What am I thinking about, and where is that, right? And if you can, again, jot it down, right? Say 2 p.m. Thoughts in future. And maybe write down what you were feeling, but we're going to go again into that tomorrow, because now you're going to realize how much of that stuff is interrelated to each other. And again, now this becomes a practice of mindfulness, right? It's the result of mindfulness, right? Because we're bringing awareness to our thoughts and our emotions and our sensations, and that is presence, right? But doing this and just specifically pausing for, just a minute at a time, this is a practice of mindfulness. And the more often you do this, if you are able to do this 20 times a day, then in a few weeks you are going to be a mindful mofo, and you are going to be feeling very present. You're going to be developing this skill of maintaining your presence and maintaining your focus and benefiting yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally, okay, in many, many ways, and building emotional intelligence, emotional resilience, you know, and again, even physically, like your body is going to feel and experience a more healthy status as a result of this, even just a minute at a time. All right, so check that out and let me know how it goes. And if you have any questions, please hit me up and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. I know this is a long video today, so I apologize. And oh, and for everybody who's listening to this as a podcast, the book that I was showing everybody is called The Joy of Living, Unlocking the Secret and Science of Happiness. And it's written by someone who I believe is Yonggi Mingyur Rinpoche, or Rinpoche maybe. Anyway, wonderful guy, and the forward is by Daniel Goleman, who is somebody I talk about a lot too. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Take care, everybody. I wish you well. Be back again tomorrow.